Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Travis Garland, the CEO of Kickstand AI, where we solve practical problems through automations and AI technology. Our guest today, Randy Parrish. He's the owner and founder of Parrish Counseling, an Indiana-based group practice known for solution-focused, strength-based care delivered with compassion, honesty, and certainly a sense of humor. Parrish Counseling serves individuals, couples, and families, both in person and via telehealth, making care accessible all across Indiana. It's a practice built to empower clinicians and meet families where they are. Randy's founder story is equal parts grit and grace. She launched her practice to balance motherhood and mission, then expanded to give other women clinicians the same opportunity to thrive without sacrificing their humanity or their other work. She also creates kid-ready tools like the Feeling Better with G podcast, helping children build emotional toolboxes, breathing, relaxation, coping skills that travel from classroom to the living room. Recently, Randy explored how financial stress intersects with mental health, offering couples practical communication habits to lower anxiety and build resilience. We'll bring that same practicality to today's conversations. We're driving past some of those surface level wins into thinking behind the modern counseling practice operations and what wisdom Randy hopes the younger generation can carry forward. So with that, Randy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I'll toss it over to you a little bit, obviously a little bit of an introduction there, but certainly tell me about yourself and how you got Parrish Counseling going.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a story. So I've been in the field for, I hate to age myself, but a little over 24 years. And so when I started in the field, I always worked in the system. So I was always working with kids on probation, juveniles on probation, or working with families from Department of Child Services and what I would deem as involuntary clients, right? So they're court-ordered clients. Okay. And I just really had a passion for it. So, the goal there was reunifying with the families or just obviously helping the kids stay out of trouble. And so that was really why I did that for 18 years. And I really didn't see myself probably doing much else until I discovered I was pregnant. And then at that time I was like, social work isn't really, it's just not the easiest job in the world to have while you have a baby, right? So I was like, okay, so where do I take her, for 12-hour days? And I'm like, and also I don't want to be away from her that long. So at that time, my husband was like, why don't you start your own practice? And I thought, okay, that sounds like a great idea. Not really. I actually didn't like the idea. And so,
it's a horrible idea.
I didn't really like the idea. I'm like, I have a new baby, starting a new business. It sounds kind of actually insane.
Stress on top of stress.
Right. And so, but he and I had businesses, he had a business at the time too. So it was like, all right, I kind of know how to structure a business. And so it didn't make, it wasn't too crazy. So anyway, so I thought, all right, I'll just look into it. And as long as I can maintain being a mom first, a therapist second, it'll be great. I'll just be a solopreneur. This will be awesome. And it was wonderful. I did it for about, I think it was like 6 months, maybe a year. I don't know. It might've been a year, closer to a year. And then I had people that I've worked with throughout my career that were like, hey, can I join your practice? And I thought, no, sure. I'll just have you. And then, then my best friend was like, can I join? I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll cap it at the three of us. And then, I just kept meeting people or people coming back from the past. And it was just such an organic growth. And it was just so neat to have people that wanted to be a part of it. And because they were just seeing that you could be a mom first, and you could still help clients, and you can make decent money, and you can because I do all 1099, so you could be completely like have the autonomy that you just don't get in social work. Yeah. And number one,
there's a lot in that last statement that you just said. One, you went from involuntary to voluntary. Two, you grew very organically. Your network was what drove that. It sounds like you were not putting out a "we're hiring" sign.
No, I still have it. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then ultimately the third part, you are able to have individuals sit on 1099s that are helping to grow your business, but also to help grow their business, their lifestyle the way they would want. Do you, I mean, that scaling, did you set out to do that intentionally? It doesn't sound like you did.
I did. I did because so my husband at the time had a business and we had a lot of employees. Well, we had several employees and I knew that was a big expense and a big headache. I mean, it's like one of those things where it's like, and I also had a new baby, right? So I want to remind you of that because that really drove a lot of my decisions because at that time, and I had come from working, I was always like near the last part of my career before I started this, I was always in management. And so I was always in social work, it's always, or therapy and stuff, it's always about productivity. Like, we're paying you the salary, you got to hit these numbers. And I, honest to God, was just burned out by it. I didn't like it. I don't think it's effective. I mean, I understand from a business perspective, I get it. From an actual clinician perspective, I hate it, right? It's like, you got to take this client because I said you have to take this client. You have to get your, goals. And so I just was so opposed to that piece. And so when I was in more of a position of, how do I want to structure this? It was, I don't want to micromanage. I don't want to email this person or call this person and say, I'm gonna have to let you go if you don't get your productivity because I'm paying you. And small businesses are not easy because, you have to be really careful with the bottom dollar, because if you're paying everybody out ahead of time and then getting the money behind it, it's just not going to be a good setup. So the 1099 was perfect because I pay on money received.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well,
and so
I'm sorry to cut you off there, Randy. You're struggling with the idea also of the pressures coming from insurers, the fact that they may be paying less,
right.
But you're also knowing that on the integrity side or the ethics side, you're thinking, hey, this is a business that I know I struggle with. We want to make sure that we're paying clinicians what they deserve and what we can to them as much as possible.
Yes.
How do you balance? Is it just a cash in only kind of business? Are you working to try and balance that what payers are consistently reducing rates on? How do you guys manage that ebb and flow?
Yeah, and it's hard, right? That's one that is always going to be the barrier to this. But my strategy has always been the more payers, the better. So, I spread it out. We don't just become dependent on one, because I think that's when you get yourself in trouble. Mm-hmm. So we do take insurance, but we also take EAPs. We have contracts with schools. We do also do some self-pays, but we don't have very many. I mean, we really work with, that's another thing. It's like, there's a lot of people out there that pay and have insurance. It's nice to be able to, and there's a lot of cash only. I love that for them, but I just can't, I don't know, the social worker in me is like, I want to also help more people too. And so, yeah, I mean, it's risky, obviously, but so far so good. I mean, we have it, it's just a small percentage of issues with the insurance. I mean, I hate the clawbacks. Sure, the clawbacks make me insane, but at the same time, I'm like, it's just part of it. It's part of, you have to just accept that with the good. So it's like that radical acceptance piece. It's like, I'm going to accept this, but I'm also going to accept the autonomy that I'm allowed to have,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, as we were having conversations before we jumped on the podcast, part of your incredible journey is the concept of, I'm going to own what I can. I'll delegate where I can. But frankly, it sounds like you have done a little bit of that and decided to bring some of that back in house and said, I'm going to manage this because I feel like I can do it better.
Yes.
But just thinking about, my goodness, coming from the healthcare space, certainly on the insurer side, I'm very well aware of what insurers, what the angst and the pressure and the tension and the clawbacks look like from the other side of the table. But from your side as a clinician, as a more specifically as a business owner, how do you manage all that full load that seems to be expanding, or just maybe even the practical operations of, say, claims billing, plus your receptionist at the front desk, if you will, plus your QuickBooks financing and taxes, plus all the other clinical stuff like compliance, and how do you make sure that folks are credentialed, and how do you ensure that their licenses are up to speed? Like, you got a lot on your plate as a business owner in this space. While your child isn't young, and I'm going to ask you about your daughter here soon enough, because she's a gem. How do you balance all that, even though your daughter might be older at this point? That's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot. And I will say, probably it's a gift and a curse. I will say this, my level of efficiency. And I say that because, like, sometimes I make things look really, really easy, and things are not as easy as they seem, right? Like the stress, you know what I'm saying? Like, I am doing it, I'm knocking it out, but it's like, man, I have a lot on my plate. But I am very aware of everything that it is required to do the operations. And as I do add more people, it does get bigger. So one of the things that I did, as I can't remember, I think is when I hit about 7 to 8 clinicians, I decided to have a clinical director. And so I have a clinical director position, and she is just phenomenal. So she just takes care of all the clinical piece. So we're talking about the clinical compliance. She is on top of it. She still does a lot of therapy. And I mean, she does a ton of therapy, but she's just so clinically sound. But she also is just, she's just one of those people, like, before I put her in this position, she's the best teammate you could ask for, right? Like, she's just always like giving you information that you didn't know you needed. Just, I'm like, this is so great. You're so kind, right? So So that was the first thing I did because she's so good. So she does all of the clinical supervision. She does all the note audits. She's making sure we're everything is just what is needed as far as if insurance came in and did an audit, we're good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that part is awesome. She also helps me with just ethical stuff, that comes up like, hey, let's get this. We need this new consent form, or let's do this, or I'm going to send all these out. She's just really great about all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
As far as the other stuff goes, so the other stuff it does fall on me. Like I do all the credentialing, I do all the billing, but I have to shout out Simple Practice. I absolutely love it. It's very, very expensive, so I don't love the cost, but but you pay for what you get. And in it is like it's our records. It generates claims, and it still requires me to do a lot of the billing, making sure it's all in there. But it is just so nice to be able to get that in, and it just sends it right to the insurance companies. It's like a one-stop shop kind of thing. And we charge credit cards in there. It's just a nice system, right? It's efficient. I go back to the efficient. I'm efficient, but I do think it matters. Like I look at that, I do the cost analysis. It's like, yes, this is a lot of money. Could I do something cheaper? Absolutely. But this gets me to where I need to be, and it frees up so much time. And one of the new things they put in it was AI note taker, which has it has improved just our clinical piece as well, right? And so that has also made a lot of clinicians very, very, very happy. And as a business owner, it's made me very happy because at any point when we get a lot of medical records and all that stuff, or audits, it's just so nice. I can just download them and they look really nice. And they're doing the work. That's always been the thing with therapists. It's like, I know you're doing the work, but your documentation has to show that you're doing the work, so that part. And then I do the books. So I don't I'm a receptionist. I don't. So I have made it. We don't have a receptionist. I don't have an assistant, but I have made processes so much efficient to where if you call our line, I'm just like, hey, 48 hours to call you back, or you can email me right away, and I will get back to you sooner. Right? I've really improved those just kind of speeding up this process.
Yeah. So it sounds like certainly technology where you can at this point. You're seeing some very clear organizations that have stood up, especially in the EHR and record keeping space. I think what we see certainly in the healthcare space, Randy, is that there's such a proliferation of organizations that are standing up within their own silos, the capabilities of AI, including ambient transcription, which you're referencing, that concept of being able to just sort of absorb the content, probably producing notes, jumping it into your EHR, and they're doing the heavy lifting the clinicians are in the session and not being bothered by the typical scribe over there writing 1,000 things down feverishly in the middle of sessions, trying to remember and do the same thing. So really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's great. There's the level of efficiency, and in all of our offices, just a couple of other things. At first I thought it was my husband's a techie, so at first I thought it was ridiculous. He wanted to put in the smart locks, the Roombas in each room, and I'm just like, this is so expensive and ridiculous. It's the greatest thing ever, right? So it's like, it's the efficiency of it. And, we don't have to pay for a cleaner because everybody, those are vacuumed every night. And when the therapists are done with their sessions, they wipe everything down because everybody wants to work in a clean environment too, right? And a lot of these therapists, I'm telling you, and this is not for me, but a lot of these therapists are just so grateful to have a place to be able to come in and do their work without being micromanaged, that it's like, they don't want to mess it up, right? So it's like, I'll do my part. I want to clean, I'll do whatever I need to do. So it's been really great.
Oh, that's, I would have to say you're not the first person to tell me about those vacuum cleaners, like your Roomba. And it's so funny. I'm sitting here, I sort of smiled when you made that comment because I've heard more than one occasion clinicians say, and this was the first one. And they're referencing their cleaning robots. They got rid of the primary load of their cleaning by way of just using at the time, our vacuum robots, which have gotten considerably better over the 2 decades that they've been floating about our floors, right? And it makes me smile that technology is sort of infiltrating every single thing, and it seems so natural now. No one even questions that there's this little black box that just kind of floats about anymore.
Well, and it's hilarious because we have them named, because we have so many of them. We have them named. And it's so funny when I'll get a text from one of the clients. It's like, Olga's went crazy, they all have their own name. But I do remember early on, packing my vacuum cleaner, right? Because it's I can't afford to pay for, it's just been so lovely to, a small investment up front, but it's just the rewards. And then my wonderful clinical director, she goes through and does a vacuum check and changes out the parts if needed. I don't know. It's a great team.
I feel like we need to do a shout out for her, Randy. So who is your
Yes.
clinic director? Your
Yeah.
clinical director?
Jess Tomlinson. Yeah.
Just
She's
Tomlinson.
amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Fantastic.
Yeah.
The piece that I skipped over a little bit earlier, I
Mhm.
said I'm going to swing back around to your daughter.
Oh, yeah.
She seems like someone who is well beyond her years, quite
Yes.
precocious as you describe her,
Yes.
and I would say challenges you as a clinician, challenges you as a
Yes.
mother,
Yes.
in I might even say probably puts to use the skills that you teach others in your household as a daughter. And so
Absolutely.
walk me into that, because I'm interested to know your thoughts and how this pulls in. But
Yeah.
frankly, sometimes textbooks aren't the best place and the only place to learn. And I feel like your daughter's a
Mhm.
testament to that.
She really is, and I used to say like, "Oh, I'm so excited about my practice," because all my experience, all my hard, experiences throughout my career has led me here. But really, honestly, if I'm being transparent, this business is just wonderful. Like yeah, there's been some issues, but nothing compared to what, I dealt with in my career before. I look at it as my
Mhm.
career prepared me to parent my daughter. Like she is like, and I'm sure a lot of people feel this way about their child. I just cannot get over her thought process on things,
Mm.
and just the way she approaches life comes from just she wakes up with gratitude. I'm just telling you, like everything that I've done in life as a therapist
Oh.
and what I teach, like, okay, you need to do this, you need to do
Mhm.
this, do grounding techniques, do mindfulness, be grateful. It's so crazy because all of us, I see it being lived out through her, like just organically, like she's doing it without me walking her through it. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's just like she'll wake up and she'll say, "Is it not the best morning that ever?" And I'm just like,
Are you serious?
yeah, and I'm like,
I'm laughing because I don't know the last time I've said that. I feel like I attempt to practice gratitude, but man, that blows me out
yeah.
of the water for a young lady to
I
say
know.
something like
At
that.
8, she's 8, yes. And so I'm like, oh yeah, of course it is, right? Like going through the motions, right? But she's feeling it. And if she doesn't feel that you're being authentic with your response back, it's an intervention time, right? So it'll be like, hey mom, why don't you put the song on and let's have a little dance party? Because you know what
Oh
dancing does?
goodness.
Dancing
Yeah.
makes us happy. And I'm just like, okay. And so she's really changed. I think I went from like a night owl more to like a morning person. I mean, she's helped change that, just the mindset. And are all mornings great? No, but the majority of the time when we drop her off at school, she's set for the day, but so are we. We're so filled up. And it's
Yeah.
just such a nice little lesson. And one thing that I've noticed that she'll do at 8 is she'll say, "Hey, let's go outside." And the minute we'll go outside, she'll say, "Okay, now let's look up at this beautiful sky and let's take it in." And I'm like, "This is mindfulness. How does she
Like
know about mindfulness?"
how does an
You know,
8-year-old say, let's take this in? You're sort of like, where are you going? So
where I know, yeah,
tell me
yeah.
about
So
feeling better with G.
sure, this was a really cute story. So I was working at the time, I think she was about 3 or 4, and I was working with I still do, but at that time I had a really heavy load of a lot of women executives that were moms of little ones, and they were just feeling burned out and just not doing great at both places. And so I thought it was really hard at that time. The buzzword was self-care, and like self-care, like what is that? And so I thought, you know what, so that's when I created F and Breathe, which is just these little 10-minute meditation or meditation resets. And
Mhm.
they were really great. Well, what happened was a lot of these moms were listening to them, and just the title has cuss words, not the word, not the stuff inside. But the kids were coming in and they were like, "I love this. I love her voice. Can she do one for kids?" And so I know. And so I thought, no, I don't really want to do another one, but it's a good idea. So I talked to my husband about it, and I was like, "Do you think we can get her to do it with us or do it with me?" And he's like, "I don't know.
Uh-huh.
You have to go ask her. I mean, because the one thing about her, ever since she's been little, she's very definitive, right? Like, so if she doesn't want to do something, it'll be no, and you can't change her mind.
Yeah.
So I knew, and I said, she knew about my other podcast. And so I said, "Do you want to try one for little kids and help them?" And she was like, "We can try it and I'll see if I like it." And I thought, all right, I'll take that. And so
Yeah.
after the first two, it was so cute. After the first two, I thought, I don't think she likes it. I'm okay with it. And so I said, "How do you feel about this?" And she was playing, I'll never forget, she was playing a toy and she looked up, she said, "I actually like it, but if we're gonna do this, I need some changes." And I said,
Oh no. Are
"Okay,
you?
well, yeah." And I said, "What kind of changes do you need? What have you been doing, your market research?" No.
Yes, right.
And yeah, she was like, "I need to have some space to be able to talk," like at the end. or tell jokes or something. And then I need you to be able to, I want you to help parents become better parents.
Okay.
I said,
Wow.
okay, so you want a little wrap up where you're like
Yeah.
able to show your personality, make people
Hmm.
laugh, make people
Hmm.
bring joy. And then you want me to be able to take the topic and teach the parents on how to address it with their kid. And she was like, exactly. I
That's
said, okay,
exactly right.
yeah, yeah,
She's
just
a
like
little producer. Yeah.
she really
She's
is.
got,
And so it's really cute. So if you look at all the seasons, it's like the first season, she was like more my co-host. The second season, um, she was at kindergarten. She kicked me off. Was it? No, I was her co-host. And then first
hmm.
grade, she kicked me off completely. She's like, we don't need
She's
you
like,
anymore.
I've got
Yeah.
this, mom. Like,
Yeah.
let
And
me
then
just,
we started it again this year, but she's like, I don't really want to do this right now. And I'm like, that's fine. Cause at
yeah.
the end of the day, it is, I love it for me because it's something I'll always cherish and have. And she'll have it when
Yeah.
she's older, she'll see what the work that we've done. But
Hmm.
I love it too because like we're meeting new people and they have littles and they're going back to the first season and they're listening to it. So it's just like it's a gift that keeps on giving. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's my favorite thing to do. She just is she's kind of a deep I mean, she's a really, really sweetheart. But when you get those headphones on and the microphone, she kind of
Oh,
turns into a little she knows what she likes, she knows what she wants. And I'm okay with it. I think it's great.
that's fair. So, well, I think one of the questions that I have, and this kind of will pull in a little bit what she is doing plus what you have going on.
Mhm.
When I think about the technology space and the repurposing of this material, you've referenced, of course, people being able to go back and be able to
Yep.
manage content. That the content creation that you have, in addition to, of course, running an entire practice, is a very
Mhm.
different kind of thing. And as listeners and viewers go out to places like your website, you'll see things like Paris publication, right? You'll see
Yes.
like
Yeah.
other kinds of things, books that have been created by you and your daughter
Mhm.
and family, other
Mhm.
podcasts that are sitting out there. So how do you are you creating one-off material, or are you developing a method that you're able to repurpose digital content in this example to be able to use in other platforms to help and scale into a broader network?
That's a good question. I think I would love to be able to scale it to a bigger network. I just don't think I have the bandwidth right now to tackle that. And so what happens is I'm all about, I don't know if this is my age or where I'm at in life, but like I'm all about like things that come up organically. And one of the things, like I love running the business. I really do. But like I also am a very creative being. And if I'm not
Hmm.
doing a creative project of some sort, I just get a little I don't want to say lost, but I get a little bored. Probably that's probably the best word.
Yeah.
And so it sounds silly because like you got plenty, but I and my family does too. My husband does too. My daughter. I mean, we just like creating things. We're all very creative, but we're all creative in different ways. But then it works together, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, and so with the podcast, we have paused those for a little while just because they're a lot of work, as you know, you do
Yeah.
podcasts, and they're a lot of work. And and I don't know, it's just one of those things where it's like I didn't feel like it was getting the traction that it needed, and I thought I need to just pause, regroup, see where I want to go with that. It's still there. I can still offer it for free. We still use it as a resource, for a lot of our clients. And
Mhm.
but as far as the books go, I'm glad you brought those up. I actually forgot about those.
Hmm.
Um, those just came out because I loved the work. Well, the one workbook, I Am Present. That's really the most important thing. Like just when you're doing therapy, is just learning how to be present. It's the hardest thing, but it's the most important thing because if you're present, then you're able to really identify what you're struggling with, how to fix things. And so, I just really love that workbook because it really just walks people through just each day. Like each day, I'm going to show up for myself, right? I'm going to be aware, maybe be present. And so that was just more of a I want to get this information out there.
Mhm.
Um, and then it turned into I would love to do one for kids. And so because when you're working with kids, a lot of times the family is like, I don't know what's wrong with her, or what's wrong with him. Well, it's not just a kid issue. It's the parents have to make the changes too. And so we set
Mhm.
that workbook up to where the caregivers have to like be vulnerable with the kid and they have to walk through, each day. And I just really love the content of that. So I don't know if it's really a one-off, but kind of, but I also like love the resource of it. And I have donated a lot of those to schools and stuff because I feel like
Yeah.
it's a great resource. The going to kindergarten books, like that just happened kind of, I mean, really organically. My daughter's kindergarten teacher was sick and they had a sub that came in who was lovely, but my daughter was just like, it was kind of chaos. And she was like, I wish we had books so we could give to the sub and she could read them to the kids on how to like have boundaries and learn emotional regulation. I thought this would be really good to write a series on how to prepare kids that are coming into kindergarten.
Hmm.
And so that's how that that's how that started.
Okay.
So yeah, and we're getting ready to actually release another book.
I'll listen to you.
I
All
know,
right.
I know. So we're working on things, but they are kind of really what we're going through. I do like that they're on our website. I don't know. So that's just kind of,
Yeah.
it would be nice to get them out there and maybe have a better plan. But right now,
You got a lot going. You got a lot going. So tell
yeah.
me when I make that comment, what I'm often thinking about in my head is everyone that I speak to has some superpower, right?
Hmm.
Now, some people, it's a little bit harder to define.
Hmm.
And it can be because it's a little hidden and really hasn't come out yet, or they're just into so many things, Randy
Hmm.
Paris,
Right.
that it's like where is your superpower? Like where do you, when you wake up in the morning and you walk out with your daughter and you look up at the sky and you take this in, like what would be your next phrase of, and this is my superpower when I step back and think about where my day is going, this is how I
Hmm.
want to spend my time because I'm the best at doing this. What would you define as your superpower?
I think for me is, well, first off, I could probably two. I'm very organized, and I think that you can't have all of these projects going on and have the scale of practice that I have and not be organized. So
Mm,
I'm very, very, very organized. I'm also organized in my personal life too. So I think that helps. That's probably my superpower. But the other thing is I'm present. I'm 100% fully present with whatever I'm doing. So if I'm billing, I'm 100%
yeah.
present, right? Like if I'm with my daughter, I'm 100% present. I'm not back and forth. And I, I'm not saying that as I got older, multitasking became a little bit more challenging, right? So it just
Mhm.
probably just everything I've been doing in life. And so I decided that I'm not really great I'm not being great at all of these at one time. And I found that when I do that, I actually have more time and I'm actually I'm getting more stuff done. So like in the morning, it's great. We have a good system. I get up and I have everything ready to roll because I'm very organized. And then I hand off to my husband. He gets her all ready. And while he's getting her ready, I literally am locked in for 45 minutes and I get every billing thing done for the night
Yeah.
before. And then we take her to school together. And it's like, I'm not worried about like, okay, I got to get that done. I got to get that done, right? It's like broken down into more of a manageable task is really
Mm,
how I'm doing it. And so that way, we get to the little cafe before school and we play cards or, it's all 100% present. And I'm not
mhm.
saying it's easy. I'm just saying it's what has worked well for me. And I'm not saying like 100% present for a full hour. You don't have to be 100% present for a full hour with a child, 15 minutes,
Yeah.
not looking at your phone, playing a game with them, asking them how their day is, well, what are your goals for today? How are you going to have a good
Mhm.
day? I don't know if that makes
Fair,
sense.
fair.
Mhm.
Well, it does make a lot of sense, and I feel like if I go back to the earlier comments that you made around the organic growth of the
Yes.
business, it feels a little bit like this, where you're sort of your superpower of being able to be here now in the present, of
Hmm.
focusing on what it is that you're doing 100% at that moment, allows you to progress as you would like. Obviously, the other part of that is
Hmm.
being able to have the vision of where you want to go. Otherwise, you're just busy doing things for 30-second chunks of your day.
Exactly.
And you
Yep.
end up in this sort of conversation of, especially when we think about where new leaders are coming into the industries and what they're going to be tasked with, it's a very different landscape, business
Yep.
spaces, between where we may have started businesses 20 or 30 years ago to now, when people are talking about developing websites in 30 minutes, and I'm thinking, I remember developing websites over 3 months, right? And
Right.
the space is so
Yeah.
considerably different. But there's always those moments of kind of iteratively moving and progressing into things. So maybe a little bit more on the technology
Mhm.
side of stuff within the operations. When you think about those sorts of chunks that you have in your day, that you
Mhm.
would say, "Oh, I don't like doing this. I'm here. I'm doing it
Mhm.
right now. I'm focused. I can get it done. It's fine." But if I had this that I
Yeah.
could take out of it because it's manual, what things would you put on that list to say, "Boy, it'd be great if I could get rid of this manual stuff because I want to spend more time doing my superpowers or spending time with my kids or whatever it might be."
Yeah. No, that's a good question. I just feel like at this point I feel like I've got it all. Anything that I can actually make more efficient is more efficient. The only thing I would change if I could change would be I have, like I said earlier, I have different payers. So I have like an EAP here,
Mm.
EAP here, school. Those all equal into separate places to bill,
Yeah.
And then I've got my EMR that bills insurance, which is fine. All of those could be billed, if I could add all of those into the EMR, that would
Yeah.
that would like make things a little bit easier. But um, I still have those pretty efficient. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not really sure. That's a good question. I feel like right now things are.
Feeling solid. Is there anything that's a manual process or an aggravation that if despite being as efficient as it could be, is there an
Mm.
aggravation that you wish you wouldn't have to deal with?
Honestly, I don't feel like there is. And we talked earlier about the insurance claims.
Yeah.
In the big picture, like I can't complain. I can't complain. I mean, there are a few situations that happen that I'm like, gosh, I wish that didn't happen. But
Mhm.
that's such a small percentage, and how because we're going on our fifth year, and so it's like that's a small percentage of the aggravation. And I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just that's a good question. And I will say this, like I do always carve out time, not daily, but probably at least weekly. If
Mhm.
I'm very when we talk about how aware I try to be present, that is very helpful because when I am doing something and I don't like it,
Mhm.
I'm able to fix it or I'm able to
Yeah.
change it. Does that make sense? Because I'm
Yeah.
aware and I'm present. And I actually have at one point I was griping to my husband about something. He's like, you could change that because you own it. You own the
Change
business. I'm like,
change it
oh,
all.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm just like, I'm thinking like, oh, I'm going to have to roll that out. And he's like, yeah, but you can do that. If you hate it that much, he's like, give it another week. If you really hate it, change it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that's actually smart. We'll do that. So
That's
like,
awesome stuff.
and that's
It,
I think that that's also the benefit going back to the superpower is like being present
Mhm.
because seriously I'm like I said I'm efficient to a fault, so if there's something that I feel like isn't streamlined,
Mhm.
we're figuring it out. I'm online, I'm
Yeah.
researching. A lot of times it's I don't like to reinvent the wheel, it's already there. So it's like,
A lot
oh,
of
this, let
stuff.
me grab this, let me do this is awesome.
Yeah, it's and a lot of it truly is there, right? There's not a
Yeah.
whole lot of fresh stuff in the world, and it's interesting as I talk to business owners like yourself. Most of the time, folks are falling into very clear buckets, right? That
Mhm.
with respect to technology and AI and making things more efficient, the I don't want to mess around with it. I don't really know what to do with it kind of group. The I've tried it and it just hasn't really worked, or I've thrown a ton of money and time at it and it still hasn't worked either. And you end up, as I listen to where you're at, it feels like you're actually in a space that is unique. You're in a
Mhm.
space that isn't necessarily that you've tried it and it hasn't worked, so you've not done it. You may have tried it and it may not have worked, but your system may be just as effective at getting things done. Or
Mhm.
it may be something that actually doesn't have an AI capability or a tool quite yet that you've identified. And
Right.
so the method that you're using is still working perfectly fine.
Right.
And and I say that really to make a point that there have been several organizations that have stood up and said, listen, these are aggravations and I don't know what to do about them. And then
Mhm.
there's others that have said, I've automated a ton of stuff and I still have problems, but it's going to cost me, $100,000 to solve this $10,000 problem. I'm not
Right.
doing that. Like this is
Right.
foolish.
Right.
And you listening to you, I feel like
Mhm.
you're one of those individuals that probably is an aware individual of what might be out there because of your philosophy, your method of saying, listen, if I don't like it, I'm just going to figure out how I can get around this or
Mhm.
solve this or do something that's going to make it less of a problem because we have that bucket of individuals that or organizations that genuinely say, Travis, my business is running and I really don't know how AI can make it better. Like
Mhm.
I'm just unaware, not that I've tried
Right.
it or that I've thrown money at it or
Right.
that I'm even good at it. I'm just
Mhm.
not even sure if AI has the ability to do this kind of stuff. And that ranges
Yeah.
from, basic AI reception stuff. Like, can I really have, and maybe in some of those conversations, a robot schedule a cancellation? Sure. Can I
Yeah.
really have an email that goes out to remind people? Of course. Can
Yeah.
I have an information line that answers questions about a prospective sale that I have going on without actually
Mhm.
having to put somebody on a phone line? Yeah.
Mhm.
What about a
Mhm.
post visit session? Working with folks like med spas or physical therapy clinics. They've
Mhm.
asked for things like, hey, can we have uh, a phone line that allows individuals to call in to say, hey, I'm doing this, but I don't know if I should do it twice a week or three times a week, or how much extension should I have, or how many times should I go back to see the chiropractor? Like, there's
Yeah.
all these kinds of questions that people might
Yeah.
have
Sure.
that when you think about where the capabilities of AI is really at, it
Mhm.
expands the business to
Mhm.
do things not just with what happens in that 10 by 10 office space, right? It's like
Yeah.
the expansion of your touch grows considerably and you can nurture your clients. So it's a fantastic area to just sort of talk about this with business owners like yourself, because you're one of those individuals I think that has thought about it. And I bet if I sort of threw 10 examples at you, you'd probably say, here's how I thought about that, and here's how I solved it. And
Yeah.
I feel like what I'm hearing is like a white paper instructional video of like, hey, here's how, if you want to run a business, here's how we used to do it. And
Mhm.
here's now, given the technologies, how we've actually shifted and how we do things now. And I bet you would be a fantastic consultant slash
Mhm.
subject matter expert for that precisely.
I appreciate that. I mean, and again, it goes back to like the efficiency. I don't like redundancy. It's probably
Yeah.
like something that is a pet peeve. So if I have to do something, like if I'm doing something and it's like, why would we have to do that 3 times? Or what? This doesn't make any sense. That old
Mhm.
saying is like, you don't want to touch paper more than once. So once you have it in your
Yeah.
hand, go ahead and file it. Right. I believe that in just everything that I do. And sometimes I'm just like, nope, we're not doing that.
Mhm.
We're changing that. And sometimes I get to the point where it's like, if I can't figure out a workaround, then I have to think about, is this worth keeping in my business?
Oh, okay. So
Right?
yeah,
Because I truly value the time that my clinicians are there. Because think about it, they're only getting paid for the time they're with their clients, right? And
Mhm.
so I want their non-billables to be very, very, very tiny.
Yeah.
And so we've just anything I can do efficiently to help that out, I'm all about it. But also from my perspective, it's like I do have a lot on my plate. So if there's something like let me give an example. So um, we were doing like quarterly meetings, right, where we would do Zoom calls and stuff, and just going over rolling out any changes. And
Mhm.
not that it's not nice to see people's faces, it is, but it's also like I'm asking them to give up an hour, and I give them bonus if they show up and stuff like that. So it's not like I don't pay them, but still, I'm giving them an hour, or they're giving me
Yeah.
an hour, and so I don't have to do that anymore because I use Looms now, right?
Mhm.
It's like
Love it.
if an issue comes up, and I need to teach something, it's like, here you go.
Hop on a 10-minute loom, not a 60-minute meeting.
And I love it because it'll say, you just saved so many meetings. And I'm like, yeah, I did. Yeah, I
And you can
did.
always make it 1.2 speed to shave those last few seconds right off, right, Randy? I know
Yeah.
you do it. I know you
Yes,
do
yes.
it.
And then I'm like high-fiving myself. I'm like, yes, I saved a meeting. You all are welcome. No, but also too the efficiency of that though, because
Yeah.
it puts it on a library and they can always go back to it,
Mhm.
right? So it's like, so when instead of having those meetings, I send out, okay, guys, here's the rollout. Here's a link to this. Here's a link to this. Here's a link to
Yeah.
this. And so I don't know. I love all of the tools that are out there
That's
that
great.
that are already there. It's like, why not use them?
Yes. They
Yeah.
are. They're wonderful tools. And I would say as an organization, as Kickstand AI sits on this side of the screen,
Yeah.
we of course spend a great deal of time working with business owners like yourself to do probably exactly what you're talking about, auditing their IT slash operations space. And as a former COO in the healthcare space, that was my life, just making things more efficient. So you and I are simpatico on that, if you will.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
a natural thing, and it
Yeah.
becomes a part of the conversation for us. Empathic innovation is how I typically define my superpower, which is moving forward in the innovation space with the keen insight of looking through the lens of your client, your customer,
Yeah.
your patient.
Sure.
And if it doesn't feel right through their space, it's
Hmm.
not right worth doing, right? And there's
Right.
this sort of moment of you can innovate for innovation's sake, you can throw a ton of cash at things, but on the Kickstand AI side, we're all about just very practical solutions. It's very simply driven. If you don't have a very clear problem, we don't throw solutions at it. Here
Hmm.
is what I'm struggling with. Let's solve that, plain and simple. Then you go to
Right.
letter B and then letter C. So it's a very sort of systematic, iterative process. And we don't step into a space like yours and say,
Hmm.
let's build an entire software package because it's too big. It's usually unnecessary. It's too
Hmm.
costly. It takes too much time. And frankly, a small business owner would just say, hey, Travis, I'm just struggling with making sure that once I know that something has hit my EMR, that I can go back to it easily in an automated fashion. So I have a summary before I walk into that next session, a quick 2 sentence reminder of what we
Hmm.
covered before, or a set of bullets that will tell me here was their homework that they had
Hmm.
from the last session. Very simple things, straight, simple
Yeah.
stuff. Um, but what I will say is you seem to be a lady that's really tackled a lot of that, and I know that I could probably learn a lot from your efficiency thinking. I think it's a cool thing. I love talking to strong leaders like yourself. So
Thank you.
and you know what, I bet your daughter's probably got a few insights too. We'll have to figure out what her thinking is on some of these. But let me as we get to the tail end of our time here,
Yeah.
Randy, let me hand the mic over to you. What's on your mind in our last couple minutes here, what are you thinking about? Where are you going? What are you striving for? What's the vision for 2026 for you guys?
That's a good question, and I think just not necessarily continued growth. Obviously, I will welcome that, but I also am very strategic with my growth because I want to make sure there's enough of work for the people that I have, right? And so we just added a psychiatric NP our office, and so that's going to be another layer that I'm going to have to learn, which is going to be good. But
Interesting. All right.
we had one earlier, and it worked out really well. But she decided to go and have her own practice, which is great. And I don't think I realized because it was new for me because I don't know much about nursing, and so I was like, is it something that we really want back? And we do, because a lot of the clients that we serve, it's hard to get in. It's hard to get in to see even the PCP, right? So I'm like, this would be just another layer that we can offer, and he's going to do in the office too. So it's going to be I think that's going to be a nice growth. We saw a lot of clients in 2025 as a practice. I think it's like close to like 6,500 like appointments. I mean, I think that's incredible for a small operation, right? Like
Yeah.
that's incredible. And so I definitely want to continue that trajectory, just continuing to help as many people as we can. And as far as like what's next, I'm not sure exactly. I definitely know, like with just like the inflation and people losing their jobs. I was talking to my husband the other day. I want to get to a place where we're able to offer like free resources. So I want to beef up our website a little bit more, and maybe some of the worksheets that we have that we use in house, maybe post those for people to download. Just like try to give them a little something. The ones that can't get in and can't afford. Not that that will replace therapy, but it'll be something.
Yeah.
And just we're also going to try to do that on our social media too. Just give some really nice ways to remind people of, hey, today be mindful, or take a
Yeah.
I don't know, like here's the grounding technique. I know it sounds silly, but it's like if someone sees it and implements it and it helps them, that's what
Yeah.
it's about. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Randy, from Paris Counseling. Thank you so much for your time. I'm excited to see what you guys have coming up for 2026. I'm excited to see the growth over the years for you guys, and I know that it's going to be a fantastic year to come. So, thank you for your time.
Can I give my website real quick?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah. So it's Paris Counseling LLC.org, and then we're on social media, and it's all at Paris Counseling. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you so much.